Hey everybody, and welcome back to Trying to with Leah. So today I wanted to talk about something that has genuinely changed the way that I move through my days and how I interact with people. And that's learning how to respond instead of react. It sounds small, almost like it's just semantics, but the difference is actually really huge. A reaction is automatic. It's emotional, impulsive, and usually driven by habit, whereas a response is intentional. It's slower, more thoughtful, and usually lined up with exactly who you want to be. So, this has been showing up a lot for me lately. So, I wanted to start with a personal story, as I usually do. But this isn't something that I have mastered at all. It's something that I actively practice every day. I've become much more aware of how often I react instead of respond, especially when it comes to confrontation. I used to avoid confrontation like the plague. The anxiety, the awkwardness, and that pit of your stomach feeling, I hated all of it. For a long time, I thought that discomfort actually came from the situation itself. But looking back now, I realized that it had a lot more to do with how I was reacting internally. I would let my emotions completely take over while I was just focused on trying to come up with a response. And that response was usually being built inside a very anxious and defensive headspace. A lot of that came from my people pleasing days, and a lot of it came from control issues. I truly believe for a long time that if I didn't manage everything about my life myself, it would not get done right. And spoiler alert, that kind of a mindset leads you straight to burnout and resentment. And I lived in that cycle for years. Even now, after doing a lot of healing and becoming a lot more self aware, I still feel those reactions pop up. The difference is that now I notice them. I give myself the opportunity to pause and breathe and step out of that anxiety before I say anything. So instead of reacting on autopilot, I choose a response. And that shift alone has made confrontation, while still uncomfortable, so much more manageable for me. Conversations feel less tense, less draining, and a lot more productive. So, what exactly is a reaction? A reaction is automatic, it's emotional, it's unfiltered, and it usually comes from stress, habit, or instinct. Think about when somebody cuts you off in traffic. Your chest tightens, your heart speeds up, and you immediately yell or give them a not so friendly gesture, even if nobody can hear you. That is a reaction. Or when you get a harsh email and you fire off a response before you've even fully read the whole thing, that's a reaction. Or say your child refuses a simple request and suddenly your voice is louder than you intended it to be. That's also a reaction. Reactions aren't bad, they're human, but they can definitely escalate to conflict. And that creates regret and adds a lot of unnecessary stress. A response is completely different. A response has a pause built into it, even a tiny one. It's intentional, thoughtful, and aligned with who you really want to be. Now, every time something difficult comes up, I try to stop and ask myself, what is the best way for me to handle this? Not just right now, but overall. That pause allows me to respond with more clarity and calm instead of defensiveness. And the best part, it doesn't just improve how I interact with others, It lowers my own stress and helps prevent that lingering feeling of regret or resentment afterward. So, why do we react so quickly in the first place? I think a lot of it has to do with our biology. Our brains are wired for flight, fight, or freeze. Reacting kept our ancestors safe in truly dangerous situations. But most of our triggers today aren't actually life or death. They're emails, traffic, deadlines, and emotional baggage from our own past. That's why awareness matters so much. Once you recognize your triggers, you can create space between what happens and how you respond. And that space gives you choice. So this shows up really clearly with my son. If you've ever watched a kid get frustrated with a phone, an app, or a game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For him, it's usually ads popping up, or a level he can't pass, or something not working the way he expects it to. And that frustration hits fast. And his automatic reaction is anger, slamming the phone down, getting upset, sometimes even yelling. So, of course, we've been working on some simple but powerful tips and tricks for him. When that frustration shows up, we pause, we take a breath. Sometimes we step away entirely if the emotions are just too big in the moment. And we talk about asking for help instead of internalizing and exploding. We remind ourselves that it's okay to take a break. And watching him learn this has been a huge mirror for me. Because how often do we as adults get frustrated when something doesn't work or something interrupts our plans and react the exact same way? That pause, even just one breath, can really change everything for you. So here are some simple ways to practice responding instead of reacting. Number one is pause and breathe. Even a few seconds can stop a knee-jerk reaction. And then name the feeling. I'm frustrated. I'm overwhelmed. Naming it helps you step out of that autopilot mode. And then ask yourself what matters most. Will reacting actually help you or just escalate things? Think about it long term. What outcome do you really want here? Another big one is practicing active listening. Truly hear the other person instead of just planning your reply. These are small shifts, but they really add up quickly. So let's go over some everyday examples. Let's say a coworker sends you a tense email. Before responding, pause, reread that email, and then respond calmly. I heard it said really well recently that the person who remains calm is the person who has control in the situation. So keep that calm. Let's say a child refuses your request. Of course, pause, acknowledge their feelings, and then explain your expectations calmly. Let's say you spill some coffee. Notice that frustration that builds up within you. Laugh if you can, instead of letting that frustration take over, and then clean it up. It's the small moments, repeated over time, that build the habit of responding instead of reacting. And those moments can transform stress, relationships, and how you see yourself. So here's your challenge for this week. Start noticing when you're reacting versus responding. Even pausing for a single breath counts. This is a practice, not perfection. And every time you choose a response over a reaction, you're building more awareness, more control, and a little more peace. If this resonates, share a moment in the comments when pausing helped you respond differently. Let's learn from each other and practice this together. And if you like this kind of content, be sure to like and share, subscribe, do all the things. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you and have a great week.